So, presentation. I'll go while the going is good. Everything okay, Keith? Yeah, good. Okay, so aims and the objectives of the project. People will be aware that the PS has these objectives to get to 200,000 by 2020, increase engagement and participation in support for reps, and improve staff efficiency and effectiveness. Our roadmap is to have a fully integrated database and comms and administration system, and so that it can integrate with a wide range of new applications and accessible everywhere. Okay, the project phases, we've now completed project phase 1, which is to move to integrated systems. However, phase 2 is the crucial one for people externally. We're looking to replace Comics, email, iMembership, Reporter, Intranet, Document Library, and introduce enhanced replacements. And then phase 3, which is coming up fairly soon, is to introduce things like casework management, training courses, and event management. And they're all things which are scheduled for the first half of 2019. So I'm just going to quickly run through parts of this presentation because I want to get on to show you the portal, and I want this session really to run for about half an hour if we can. So a key part of what we're doing here is introducing new functions which help people communicate, campaign and organise. And we've already introduced a new email system, but we haven't integrated it with the database yet, and that will happen soon. We've already got a new website and a new platform, but again haven't integrated that with the database, which will happen soon. Our political campaigns tools will all be integrated too. We're working on trying to improve the content, images and video that we use to make them more digital appropriate. And we will be developing an organising app, and you're going to see a bit in a minute a little bit more about all of that. So there's a lot more detail in this part of the presentation, but I'm not going to go into it for the minute. But very happy to answer questions on any of these, because what I do want to go into is the next part of it. So improving support for reps is a crucial part of what we're doing. So we're replacing the Comics database and introducing Salesforce, which is the world's leading marketing database. And this has functions, so the world of commerce can change people into contacts, into opportunities, and into customers. And that functionality has got some fantastic opportunities for unions to use. It was never developed with unions in mind, but what we're all about is trying to get people involved in the union and support our reps. And we can use the functionality developed by billions and billions of pounds in the commercial world to help us support and develop PCS. So what we're going to look at first is the reps and members portal, and then have a quick chat through these other items here, and I can show you whereabouts and how we're going to develop them. Okay, so switching over to the branch officers portal. So this is within this portal there's the functionality for members and the functionality for branch officers. So I'm going to start off with the functionality for members. So members will obviously be able to do everything they can on iMembership currently and more. And before I just go into this, the login process for this is very simple. All members, when we go live, will be sent a link, and they click that link, and then they can log straight in. And we'll be able to have functions where people, if they can't find the link, can go on the website, put in the personal email address they've registered with us, and they'll be sent a link to that email address and can click through. So it's actually really easy to log into this system. If people haven't registered, there'll be a simple sign-up form as well, so people can register. So access is absolutely fundamental, because the functionality that we've got is much easier to use. So if you remember going into this, you'll see my details screen, which will have all of your members' details. And we've got a test member here from the DVLA, and I've just got to be a bit careful as we go through not to show people data that is in any way personal. So, this is what people will see, and it's got obviously various different levels of membership here: job details, equality details, all of the data, communications, and all that sort of thing, all the data that we currently hold. And the simple process to edit it is to use the edit button. And therefore people have the ability to go down and edit these fields. Now, most importantly, we're looking at functionality which enables people to change their employer and change their workplace. but do that in a way which means that our records, the quality of our records is maintained. So changing the employer will always be in a process where if a member changes their employer, they will go in a workflow through to our membership team, so that we ensure that people aren't accidentally changing their employer. But within people's branches, there will be the functionality for members to change their workplace. It will also be connected to a process if they wish to change their workplace to a workplace outside their employer. There's a way of doing that which follows exactly the same function. So the ability is to change your workplace. That's not currently on iMembership, and workplace data is one of the bits of data which is the most difficult for us to maintain. So so I've just saved that and changed that. So that's the simple as that to do that. Members will also have access to this screen, which is the branch committee screen. And so therefore you can put in, if you want to find your workplace rep and you want to put in Sidcup, therefore you can find the local rep at Sidcup on DVLA. So it's a very simple way of finding your rep or being in contact with your branch committee. However, there'll be additional functionality for branch officers, and branch officers will have access to a lot more information. So, for example, here they've got access to workplaces. You click through a workplace, and you get the contacts of that workplace as well. And we're working on functionality, although it's not here, being worked on actually today, so that members can change branch committee members. So the branch secretary can change the branch committee members. So that is a function which is available currently. There's also my reports, and this is mimicking what's currently available on iMembership. So there's any number of reports that can be included here, but all the reports which are on iMembership will be there. There's my dashboards, which you've seen the dashboard that we showed you earlier. But we have the ability to create a number of dashboards. So, for example, we could create a dashboard for the pay campaign, whereby you could see quickly and easily people who told us they voted, for example, or where we've got membership details that need collecting, things of that nature. So it's very easy to create nice-looking dashboards which click through to data. There's a function here called My Cases, which I'll quickly click through to. This won't be initially a function that will be part of it, but this is a process which is out of the box in Salesforce, which is intended to do things like administrative changes. And we will have it live to make administrative changes, so where you need to change multiple members or bulk change people from one workplace to another, or request a new workplace, or make any slightly complex change, that will go into a case process, and we'll use this type of process. So you'll be able to see how the case is progressing, and our membership team will be able to look at it and make appropriate changes. This is intended to replace all of the functions which people currently do by email, where they send long and complicated emails through to the membership team. The membership team spend an awful lot of time back on the phone with branch secretaries trying to ensure that they're entering data correctly, and with two people entering data which is through text, they are typing an email, there's always the potential for changes. So, however, with these cases, the potential for changes, they are directly related to the member's record, and so that's what we'll be using it for. However, there will also be, this will be developed into a casework management system which is connected across branches, has the ability to, we will need to do a bit of configuration with it, but it will be the functionality that we will use to set up a casework management system for branches, which also connects straight through to the casework management team at PCS headquarters as well. So there will be a very comprehensive process here which will enable people to do an important function safely and securely. Just taking you on to another set of functions, what you'll be looking at in a second are firstly a replacement for the document library. and the document library sits outside all of our other functions. Now we're integrating it into a function for reps, and so for example this is set up for the DVSA ModeSense. You can preview it like that, and download, which I won't do, or copy a link and send it on people. So it's got that functionality there. What will happen here is that this will be a process where we will use the metadata to ensure that groups get the relevant communications. So RoadSense, for example, will only go to the DVLA, the DVSA, but the DWP will have their own, and HMRC their own communications, and they will only go to their own people. It's a very flexible function we've set up. We can have a very long discussion with people about how we actually use it, how people are notified about new documents appearing here, but it's a way of managing our paperwork within the confines of the online, secure online system that we have. On the right-hand side of the page here, there is a function called Chatter, and Chatter is essentially a replacement, a secure, members-only collaboration forum, which could replace WhatsApp, could where people use WhatsApp groups, could replace the use of Facebook groups. It's entirely secure and only open to members, and you can create groups. So for example, quality groups, it will be absolutely ideal for branch executives, very useful for communicating in between branch executive meetings. You can post on here. You can create polls. There's various other things that you can do with it. How people want to use this, I'm very much open to discussion about. It's a straight out-of-the-box collaboration forum, and that I think could prove to be very useful for us. But it really depends on the users rather than what I think. So just a couple of other things to show. If you just show here, this is an overall search function. So you might get members, or so you can pick anything up which is on the database which you have permissions for. So it's a very useful search function. There is another function which is not live on here, but I can just show you the type of thing it is, which is currently situated down here. Ask a question and contact support. Ask a question is a very powerful feature called knowledge, which enables people to interrogate a database of information. So we haven't got a database of information, but we've got lots of information in various places across the website, in people's inboxes, in all sorts of different places. And what we want to do centrally is create a knowledge base of all of the information that is available for PCS, support bargaining, support casework, and then we have it in this Ask a Question knowledge base. It's a very simple process. You start asking a question and answers come up. You can load video in, you can load all sorts of training materials into it. You can have a public version on the website which gives a limited answer and then asks people to click in, so that we're not giving away lots of great advice we've got. You can limit certain advice to reps only and certain advice to members. So what it will enable us to do is have a really, really good process for maintaining and storing information. And as I said, we are having a discussion internally about how we put the information in there, how we gather information from across PCS. So, so those are the general functions that are in here. And if people have got any questions, then Keith's collecting any questions and I'll come back and try and answer them at the end. So what I'd like to do now is go just back onto our presentation. And as I say, I've been through, shown you the portal, talked about information and collaboration, which is primarily Chatter, casework, which will be the case function. We haven't developed the ballots and elections function yet, and we will be doing that as soon as we're live with the portal. We won't be using this for conference this year because conference starts, the process starts, as you all know, in early in the new year. And we won't be able to get this up and running in time, but we aim to be Conference 2020, that we will have new functionality all available for this, and there's a very good piece of functionality in here we can use. Similarly for training and events, the training events we'll try and get up and running as soon as we are live. We'll be looking at that as one of the next pieces in our program. So, just taking it on to what's next. So, I created this a month or so ago. So, where we are in, what we're trying to do now is we're trying to get to a point where we can go live with the community that I've just shown you, which is for reps and for members, and there's a version for staff as well. We're working really hard to get the database up and running for that as soon as we possibly can. We're just in the process of doing testing with DFT GEC, and we've got their feedback coming. This process is obviously to show you and get some feedback from you, and then we'll be starting some live testing with larger groups to get people's feedback before we're actually ready to go live. And that process we're intending to go through December and January. And the aim is, if I could just go through here to January, February, is to launch the new web portal for reps and members and staff in its basic format, which will replicate what's on iMembership, but retaining iMembership, so no one's losing any functionality. So we'll launch a replacement for new web portal for reps, members and staff, and to launch the SharePoint system replacing the document library, which you've also seen, and some deployment of Chatter in January, February of 2019, depending on what type of feedback we get during the testing phase. Okay, all of these things are potentially, they also have potentials for things technically to go wrong, so we have to build in something for that, but that is what our current planning is on the basis of. In March and April 2019, we'll be reviewing what we've got, looking at this knowledge and cases process and developing that, and looking at subscription solutions. And then in May to July, rolling out the knowledge and casework function and introducing digital subscription processes. So that's our aim, and so that we get to a point by the end of July where we can review whether or not we need to continue with the functions of comics, and then look at how we extricate ourselves for that. Currently we will be running two databases talking to each other, which is fine, but it's not something that we would want to continue to do forever. Okay, so that pretty much completes my presentation. Sorry, apologies if I dashed through it a bit. I'm always slightly worried that technology will give up on us. So I'm just now turning to my assistant Keith to see if we have any questions that we need to answer.
Okay.
Yeah,
it may have been answered. Jill Watts says, will branches be able to communicate directly with their members through this portal?
So will branches be able to communicate directly with their members through this portal? The Chatter function can be rolled out to reps and to members, and if it's working successfully and we want to do that, that's possible for us to do. So that function is there. Lee McConnell says full or limited rollout in January, February. Question. It will be a limited rollout, but it will be a rollout, is what we're aiming for. Hopefully I've answered that.
There's questions about whether you've got to download the app first on the phone, which seems to be what people want to do.
Right, so this is available as a browser version, which is fully mobile friendly. So there's no need to download an app to access this. However, you can access Chatter through an app, and that may be convenient for some other people. You then use the same login details and you log into the app and you'd be getting the same access as you get in the browser version. So there isn't an actual app currently for the whole portal, and what we're thinking about in terms of apps for that is to look at certain types of things that people do very, very frequently and turning those functions into a very selected app to ensure that what people do frequently they can access through a simple login. As you can see, there's more functionality here than would normally be in an app. So we think it's better as a browser version, but we will be reviewing that as time goes on to see what the demand is for having particular apps. So I think apps tend to deal with particular bits of functionality and be designed to deal with those particular bits very, very well. And so that's the type of app we'll be looking at over time.
Some people are also asking about the app for this webinar, which seems to have been only working if you download an app. But
I'd be very grateful for your feedback on the webinar software. We're not very happy with this webinar software and are thinking of changing. It's very clunky at our end, and it seems to be clunky at the user end as well. So I think fairly shortly we're going to be looking to replace that.
Derek Miller asks, what does subscription solutions mean?
Okay, subscription solutions means a replacement for direct debit and checkoff and the other subscription solutions and methods. So subscriptions, what there are is plenty of solutions for direct debit. There's a whole range of providers that we can have for that, and it's a question of functionality and price. No one has a solution for checkoff. However, we think we've worked out a solution which will work, and we won't need anybody to build that for us on a file upload. So there are still members on checkoff, so we do have to ensure that that's taken into account.
David Temple asks, will there be a facility for branch bulletins to be published on group pages so they're searchable without having to log in?
Let me just have another look at that question. Right,
it's the second half of that.
Facility things of branch bulletins on group pages. There's no changes as a result of this to to group web pages. I'm not going into that at this particular point. There is an issue in relation to documentation and digital. Over 50% of our members now access all of our online services on mobile phones, and we can see that in the data. And so there's an issue for us to discuss internally, reps, as well as staff, about how we make sure that our content is easily accessible on mobile devices. So that's the only issue.
A similar question from Jill. What about branch memos rather than chapter?
Well, what you have is the document library replacement, which that's a method where you can communicate things that previously on paper very, very easily, and you can also pick up links directly off that and then send them to people. So you have an online version of any of the documents that you want to produce via that process. So I think a lot of people use the employer email systems, and so what you'll be able to do is pick up a link from here and send stuff around the employer email systems if you wish to. So they're public documents, but they're sent via this process.
Fern Skeldon asks, I have multiple employers in my branch. Will this allow me to move members between employers?
Okay, so we won't change the protocol for moving people between employers or between branches. So currently branch secretaries have the ability to move members between branches. Between workplaces within a branch. Okay, they don't have the ability to move them outside a branch. We're reviewing all this functionality, but it's not a technical question. It's more a rules and a process question. So I'm trying to get other people other than me to look at these issues. If there is a particular desire to do things, technically we can do anything. We can do any of these things. It's a question of rules and processes rather than the technical side of things. What we will be doing is building the same functionality for moving people, whether you have the rights to do it or whether it needs to go for someone else to authorise it. So for example, if you want to move a group of members from one workplace in your branch to a workplace outside your branch, or a workplace in an employer that you cover to one that you don't cover, or someone you don't have permissions for, you do exactly the same process. You press submit, and that then goes as a file or a case to whoever needs to authorise it, and that person presses authorise. What the aim here is to do is to not change permissions that are established or processes that are established. It's just make them much, much easier for you and much, much easier for the administrator who's dealing with it. So that's the technical solution to what we're doing. So I know it's a bit of a convoluted answer, but hopefully that's answered the question.
Derek Morat says, has access to the officers portal been tested across other departments other than DFT? Settings are different from system to system.
Yeah, not yet. We're in the process of starting that now. So and there may be some browser issues, but it's fully browser based. So it only really the type of browser will impact on it, but nothing else. If you see what I mean.
Okay, and Derek also asks, how will we prevent members placing themselves in the wrong workplace when there are multiple branches in the same building or site?
So each employer has a number of workplaces, okay? And members do not have the ability to move themselves across employers, okay? They can move themselves into another workplace where they currently, within their current employer. But they'll be shown a drop-down list of the workplaces within their employer. It won't be a free text. They will be picking up records which exist and saying, I no longer work here, I work there. Okay? And in this way, we hope to ensure that they don't make mistakes. Currently, what happens is members don't change their workplace because they haven't got the functionality to do it. However, if they ring up our membership team and say, I've moved from this workplace to that workplace, we move them. So it seems to me that it is possible to give that functionality to people within limits. If they want to move themselves into another employer, or if they want to do something more complex, that will go as a case and then be referred to the membership team, who will then authorise it.
Frank Helms asks, how will we get members to use Chatter if it's not as easy to access as WhatsApp or Facebook?
Well, that's a good point. I don't know the answer to it yet, although it is actually as easy to access as Facebook or WhatsApp. However, they just haven't done it yet. So it's going to take us a little while to roll it out. It's got some big advantages, but it means adopting a new system. So I think it will take a while. So, but I just don't know the answer. I know the functionality is there. I think we should try and see how we can make it work.
Lee asks, will branches be able to email members, or do we have to use Chatter?
So you can use Chatter, but Chatter can be set up so that there's an email notification. But that's one thing we're thinking through over this next period.
Okay. Jill asks, will the portal make it easier for branches to send memos to members' private emails, which are held on the database?
Nothing in here at the moment will enable us to do that, but that's something we can work on as a functionality. Okay, what we're really trying to do at the moment is replace what's currently there so we can get this live. Building a bit more complicated stuff will hold it up, so we're just going to go live with the minimum viable product, as they say, and then develop it from there.
Jill's also asked a specific question about her branch, which has shared locations with other HMRC branches.